An Irishman in Dubai has set up a fintech company. How does that happen? I need to know. So now I'm joined by Kevin Kilty, who is the founder of Hubpay here in the UAE. And I just want to get under the skin around the business and why the UAE for the particular service that Hubpay offer to this region. So Kevin, thank you so much for joining me for this conversation.
Thanks, Peter.
So obviously you're a Brit, you're from London.
Most of my life.
Give me a little bit of your background. Why the UAE for this business idea? How did it come about?
Sure. Well, one correction I must make, otherwise my mother won't forgive me. I was born in Ireland,
Okay.
but we emigrated when I was very young.
Guilty, yeah.
It's guilty. But I emigrated when I was very young. So most of my life UK. Why fintech? So my background's banking.
Okay.
My 20s was in banking in the UK, but I was quite interested in the financial inclusion space. So I started volunteering. I volunteered my first year in banking in a microfinance organization, one called Opportunity International, based in the UK, but with global operations. And they had a big operation, they still do, down in Malawi. And so I volunteered to spend a few weeks down there writing a kind of go-to-market strategy for small and medium enterprises, which is interesting because that's exactly what we're kind of doing now.
Yeah.
So I expanded the kind of work and research around that in my 20s. I was quite keen to leave banking and move more into investment, but on the impact side. And so I moved to Dubai 2016 without a kind of job. I'd resigned and was keen to explore the kind of options. I did not actually have a plan to stay in Dubai. The plan really was to use Dubai as a staging place and look at some more of the kind of frontier markets. I'd previously been on the ground in Palestine and Libya, and so I was looking roles in those areas. However, they are few and far between. And whilst I was in the UAE, what became apparent was I knew it was a trading hub, and I expected to be quite significant cross-border money flows. What I was surprised by was the lack of fintech innovation. Right. Because by that time, it was now kind of 2016, 2017, we'd already seen huge progress in fintech and many other kind of global areas.
Yeah. And the financial inclusion piece, I'm really, really big on as well. And it's interesting hearing the story that you're obviously in the Middle East already, then here. Was there a light bulb moment specifically that made you think, okay, right, there isn't much fintech here, but actually there might be something that could work for the market space?
Yeah, I think the light bulb moment is one that probably a lot of people see. If you look at the kind of UAE and you look at the high street and you see how many exchange houses there are and how many people queuing outside exchange houses, especially on a Saturday morning, there is a situation going, well, why are we still using this system when everyone else is using a digital wallet, right? From India to China to the UK. And so I think that was the light bulb moment.
Yeah. Okay. So talk to me a little bit more about your background, because you're obviously in banking in the UK.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes when I speak to people, I often find that there is either a moment or something in the past maybe that links to where you are. And people often say that you can't make sense of anything unless you look back to kind of connect all the dots, if you will. Was there a particular thing that for you was like, okay, this in the fintech space being kind of like rare, that kind of attuned to you in terms of something that you'd notice as a wider, broader theme?
I think, thematically, I don't think there was a kind of invention moment where I saw a specific pain point in my previous role. What I was interested in was, I think a significant moment was actually at university earlier on. I'd read Banker to the Poor by Professor Mahmoud Yunus, who obviously won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2016 for his work in microfinance, being the grandfather of that movement. Yeah. And what I liked about it was a development solution, but one based on real sustainability. And what I mean by that is sustainability of capital, etc. And also what it kind of highlighted was how financial inclusion is at the kind of fulcrum of the Sustainable Development Goals by the UN.
Yeah. And so the UAE, Dubai, over the past few years, there's a lot of buzz, obviously, about Dubai.
Yeah.
A lot of people wanting to move here. But as a fintech hub and a technology hub, there's a lot of buzz around Dubai specifically at this point in time. Would you agree with that sentiment? Because you've been here for a long time. So when you first got there wasn't really that buzz there. So have you seen that transition?
Yeah, I think I'll answer that question in kind of 2 stages. One, the overall buzz by Dubai is kind of fascinating. It shows how timing is everything. Because I was here in 2016. Now in 2016, Dubai was already a phenomenally successful city and it was growing rapidly. I think there was a major inflection point after COVID. And I think one of the factors there was people realized they did not need to be in one country for one job, right?
Sure, yeah.
So the concept of digital nomad became a far broader kind of addressable kind of market, with people going, actually, I met somebody here in this building when WeWork opened in 2020, in 2020, it's just after COVID, who was a lawyer. And so, yeah, but I can do my job remotely, so I might as well do my job remotely from here, right?
Yeah.
And that I think was a significant change. And that really was, when you look back at when people talk about the internet back in the 60s or 70s or computing in that kind of period, that was the vision. The vision was that people wouldn't be commuting for 2-3 hours, and it just didn't take place. Well, now it is taking place. It's not just people living out kind of more rurally, but it's taking the opportunity to live in different cities. So I think that was a huge factor. I think other factors played into that. I think the lack of growth or the struggling growth in Europe is definitely a factor. We're seeing a significant European migration. We're both from London. We know how many people in the UK are moving over. But then also there is, like, I would describe kind of Dubai very much as a citadel economy, where they've built this kind of leading city in obviously the UAE. But it's almost a city state like you have back in the day. And there's other kind of places like that, a bit like Singapore or Hong Kong. Well, Singapore and Hong Kong have seen a decline, right? Hong Kong is not the place it was 20, 30 years ago. Has that benefited the likes of Dubai? Unquestionably. So I think there's been a broader migration here. That's a major factor. And that wasn't anything I think they'd immediately done, because I actually think they'd done the work in years beforehand in setting situations where the general view is, everybody can come here as long as you treat each other with respect and kind of behave yourselves. But then also kind of deeper that in terms of you look at the corporate structure. So the ability, if you are anywhere globally, want to set up a business here, it's pretty easy to do so, right? And then you have world-class facilities across the board. Now, whether you're from Nigeria, Jakarta, or Beijing, and you're looking globally about where you place yourself, how many cities have absolutely tier 1 global architecture across a number of sectors?
Very few,
Right? And so then you start, okay, well then it is, that is unique. And so I think they built that early on. And so we're seeing just a different inflection point right now. To come back to your question on fintech and overall technology, to be blunt, no, it is not a global fintech city yet, not by quite a stretch. It is a global city on cryptocurrency, definitely. The reason cryptocurrency, yes, and fintech, not yet. So if you look at fintech first, how many companies are based in the UAE or founded in the UAE or have moved here that are over $100 million in value? Very few, right? Tabby are doing very well in the buy now, pay later. Companies like Lean, who we're a customer of, which is bank integration, have done an incredible Series B just last year, but there's still very few. You go to France, UK, you go to smaller countries, there'll still be way more. And that's just because tech has been a bit more nascent here. It hasn't had the same feeder systems, etc. But it's beginning to get there now. On the cryptocurrency side, that's quite different, because what's happened in cryptocurrencies is a lot of countries have had either more restrictive regulation or unclear regulation or outright banned it. The UAE, I think this is really strong vision here. Just said, this is definitely in the future. Do we know how it's going to work out? No. But can we create a more expansive and open structure to at least start to get things going, and then we can refine the model? And that's worked very well.
Thanks for that. So obviously within the fintech space, it's not necessarily a global fintech attraction almost at the moment, but you've chosen effectively to build a fintech kind of like business here. That can't be easy. What has it been like? What's the journey?
No, it's been a nightmare. No, I think, I'd be slow to quote him, but was it Musk said, chewing glass and staring into the abyss every day, right? you go from one crisis to another. Now that is not a UAE issue, that's a startup issue, right? Because if you're in the, So that it has been very difficult. It always is going to be. You're trying to do something different. Of course, it's going to be hard. If you want something easy, go and get a corporate job, right? So, yeah, no, it has been a challenge here.
Yeah. Is there one in particular that kind of like stands out, where you're kind of like, okay, that was challenging, but I'm glad that I got over that hump?
Yeah. So the biggest one for us is mostly in technology, you're either too early or too late. Too late, somebody's come up with the idea. Too early, the technology doesn't exist. And that can be seen across every single company that's ever started. When Bill Gates started, if he'd done that a few years earlier, the computing wouldn't have existed, computing power wouldn't have existed, right? Steve Jobs, when he got booted out of Apple the first time, he had a vision for the computer. It just wasn't there. The tech was not there, right? We brought out a computer next. It was a great computer, but at $15,000 was a shy too expensive for the education system. If you look in the fintech area, you need, I'm a big fan recently, in the UK, they were talking about, Martin Wolf, the chief economist at the FT, was talking about ecosystems and how we should focus more on ecosystems than founders. And I really agree with that statement, because you need all the building parts there. And in the UAE, that financial architecture wasn't there when we launched. It is there now, and that's now why we're growing quite quickly.
Right, cool. So Hubpay, what exactly do you actually do in terms of service, and who are your main kind of like clients? You corporate based, generally speaking?
Yeah, at the moment we started on the retail side, but we're now more focused on corporate. And our main focus on the corporate side is pretty much everybody. There's a small up to kind of large use case. What we started initially was focusing purely on FX. So what we've seen with likes of TransferWise in Europe. Very simply, you're sending money from A to B. We'll do it at a better price, and we'll do it more efficiently. So focusing on that, and that's a very large market because UAE is such a trading hub. It has now got a lot wider, and the wider addressable market has really only been as recently as the last few months. And so what we've gone from just offering a simple FX solution to now a full business account, right? So we have, and the two major differences there is, if you came over here and set up your media business in the UAE and you got incorporated DMCC, the first thing you need is a bank account. It is challenging to get a bank account here. It takes a while to get one. With Hubpay, we can give you a full named account, dirham IBAN, as quickly as 24 hours.
Nice.
We also have the ability to have a multi-currency IBAN. So if you want to hold money across 35 different currencies, from dirhams to euros, we can do that, which at the moment I'm fairly sure no bank can even do. And it certainly doesn't offer as an opening account offer. So that's a real acute problem in the UAE. I think it's one that adds a significant amount of value, because going back to your earlier point about the growth in the city, the growth of the city now is immense. We spoke to Sharjah Friesen the other day. They're incorporating 500 businesses per month.
Wow.
That's just one of the free zones. It's not even the biggest one. DMCC is a roaring success across every single vertical it's hit. It's got cryptocurrencies as a vertical. It's got precious metals as a vertical. It's overtaken London, which only had 7 centuries to get to become a leader in gold. And so the growth, if you want to incorporate a business, as we mentioned, is very easy to do. You've got the facilities, you can come to office like WeWork or someplace else. However, you absolutely need a bank account and you want to get going really quickly. Well, that's currently a bottleneck, and that's one of the ones we're addressing. One in the bank account, two then with leading payment solutions around that for the businesses.
I find, because I've got clients in the UK, so oftentimes I still take some money into the UK account. From a tax point of view, it's not necessarily the most efficient thing for me to do. To get them to pay into a Dubai account, some of them won't do. So I think having a multi-currency account sometimes can be very, very helpful in that kind of transition for businesses where you are selling cross borders.
Well, I mean, your business is just the epitome of so many businesses in Dubai. You're in media, but you could be in trading steel, right? Your customers are going to be everywhere. Jebel Ali Seaport is now the 9th largest port in the world by traffic. DXB is number 1 globally. So in terms of trading hub, the architecture is huge, right? And so many companies are based themselves here, and it's now becoming, if it's not a regional HQ, it could become a global HQ. And so that timelessness of kind of payments, multi-currency solution is kind of fairly critical.
Yeah. So how do you actually get to market in terms of, do you target mainly large businesses or companies that are moving over here? Is it a bit of a mix? What's your route to market, generally speaking?
Well, it was previously mid to large businesses, ones that were transferring $1 million a month, and so they'd be more sensitive to kind of FX margin on fees. Now it's everyone, right? And so now it is, sure, if you're a larger business, we've got not just FX solutions, we have payment links, we've got international mass payments, the ability to send out to retail payroll globally. We have cryptocurrency through our partnership with Aqua now. But on the smaller side as well, and what's most in the free zone is, once we announced that we'd gone live with named bank accounts, we had a number of the free zones reach out saying, look, I've got a number of companies, could you help us with them? We're like, well, that's perfectly. And that to me that's a really good kind of UAE success story. You've got a free zone working very hard, being very successful, like a DMCC or a Sharjah. And then a company that was founded here going, well, we've built a tech solution that's going to help your companies and your business grow faster. That is when cities start doing that, they start really picking up.
You start to build an ecosystem, don't you? So it's interchangeable services that have a symbiotic relationship, and you can all help each other out. And really, 100%. That's kind of like the catalyst, really, for growth and establishing yourself as a brand.
Absolutely, it becomes a positive feedback loop.
Yeah. Question for you here, and this might be one of the last ones. Obviously, you said that it's not been easy building a fintech here, but if someone had an idea to say, okay, I love what they've done, I've got my own fintech idea, what would be the one piece of advice that you would give them?
Join an accelerator program. So accelerator programs have been now for quite a few years. The most famous one would be YC Combinator in Silicon Valley. And they were set up where there's a lot of people with ideas, but they need those ideas refined, but also filtered out, because to kind of distinguish the people from the kind of companies that have an idea to companies that actually maybe either have product market fit or at least a better chance of securing that. And so that's grown out. And so Startup Bootcamp, which is a big European accelerator, they did their first fintech accelerator in the region in 2019. And we went through that. And that was really valuable because it did two things. It was a stamp on us to go, well, they were selective accelerator, 2,000 applied, 10 were taken on. And so it provided a good filter to potential investors. And second, it was also a stamp on the kind of region to a degree, right? Because it still is, if you look at the data on, say, PitchBook or something, how many exits have there been from a startup here? Very few. You have your Kareem, you have your Souk.com, they're few, right? Now, I think there's going to be a lot more in the next few years, but that's still early on. If you're an investor in, and most of our VCs initially were US, and they're looking at this region and they see, okay, Startup Bootcamp, we know that. We know they've got decent alumni, etc. And they would literally, that's what the VCs do. They will go around to demo days and speak to the people running accelerator programs to go, who's good? Who should we back?
Fantastic. If there were any kind of like last words for people who watch this, because the people who watch this will be people who are either moving to Dubai, already in Dubai. What would be your message to them if they wanted to find out more about Hubpay and what you do, or even become customers, or even kind of like use the services?
Well, we want everyone as a customer. If they're a retail user, they can download our app from the App or the Play Store and send money cross-border to kind of 50 countries. We think we've got a pretty good solution there. I still use it every month. On the corporate side, absolutely would love their business. Even if they already have a bank account, we can provide a business account across multiple currencies and multi-currency IBAN. But the suite of payment products now is probably market leading.
The fact that you're able to do the bank account within 24 hours, because I remember when I came to do my one, it took like a week in the end for me to get the...
That's good timing.
And people were saying that actually that's not too bad.
No, 3 months is normally, it's more like...
I've heard that as well. So, but you being able to turn that around in 24 hours is pretty impressive as well.
Yeah, we streamlined, we've built a strong tech stack that our platform is based on. That was all built in-house. And so that's an efficient and well put together kind of platform, which you've seen fintechs globally replicate that success. But then secondly, we also built a very strong operational stack. So I think some companies, well, there's no global fintechs here. The Papayas, the Alipays, none of them have come to the UAE yet. They may do in the future. But there are a few who provide some solutions remotely into the UAE. but they don't have a team on the ground. Well, the UAE is quite unique, right? It's a unique market makeup in terms of its demographics, but also its corporate structure. If we're in the UK, there's one company's house, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know what the count is currently. Is it 200 free zones in the UAE? But at least that within stuff. And so we have built frameworks around that allow us to assess the companies a lot quicker.
Yeah, fantastic, brilliant. Thanks for this. Been really, really informative. I wish I knew about you guys when I was actually moving over here. And that's half the issue.
Yeah.
It's like you're in this midst of a massive move. You're just trying to figure out, okay, how do I get this done first?
Sure.
And then, you find out other things later on and stuff like that. I might think about actually maybe moving some bits and pieces over and stuff like that.
I'd love to have you.
Really, really good speaking to you, Kevin. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
Cheers. It was really nice meeting Kevin and learning a little bit more about his journey. We're going to meet more people like him. But if you have enjoyed this content, don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment down below. But I've been your host, Peter Komalafe, and this is It's Not a Free Brunch.